Hey everyone, welcome back. Josh Yoder here, Future Contributions Business Development. I am the founder and CEO of Future Contributions. It's an honor to get on here again every single week with every single one of you to hear your success stories, to see you guys grow, and you guys, you help me grow. I get into situations and complex things that you think you've seen everything in business when you've been in business for 15, 20 years. But you know what? It's a revolving door. New challenges arise. And guess what? As soon as you feel like you figured out those challenges that you had way back in the day aren't really a challenge. They come back around and you forget how to handle stuff sometimes. And it reminds you. So it's like a revolving door. So I want to encourage you guys you don't have to get ready if you stay ready. So always be ready, always be hungry, always be humble, always be learning, and you'll never have to get ready. Stay ready. When you're in a position of being ready, you have a momentum above everybody else. Because example of a car, a truck, a train, when those things are coming off the rail, those diesel engines pulling all of those cars, when you're starting a business, or let's say you started a business, and you're going down those tracks and you come to a halt because you didn't have something set up right in your business. Now you got to regain all the momentum again and go through all that work again and get it going. But once that train is going, that weight is pushing them. That's what I'm saying, guys. So today's subject is not about trains. Today's subject is about sales. And we're going to finish and close out what we've been doing here for the last 3 weeks. So the last 2 podcasts, go back and watch them after this one. It'll make a lot more sense. We talked about the mindset of a salesperson specifically. And then last week, we talked about the road to the sale. So the mindset of a salesperson is getting your mind right, looking yourself in the mirror and liking what you see. If you don't like what you see in the mirror, you would not be a good salesperson, because people buy you first, your company second, your product third. So just remember that, guys. And then far as the road to the sale, we talked about how to call the customer before you get there, to text them with your picture and a link to a professional video describing about what they do so they can meet you before they meet you. You get to the front door and you nail the PPR, personal, professional, and relatable. If you can get these things up front and you can do the inspection and the inspection report and do an inspection and break down with a relationship with the customer like nobody else would do. And if you get inside that door and get them to sit down and they're seated not across from you, but beside you, and you did all that right, and you did your presentation correctly and all the steps, now we are ready for the question. We're going to talk today, for example, about a roof. And that's what we've been using as an analogy because it's a little easier just to use it the whole way through. So talking about a roofing system, I'm going to have my marketing director, Tony, to come on in to the winner circle here.
Yeah. Awesome.
So Tony here, he works in our home service company here at UBA, and he makes us famous online. He makes us look good. He fixes all our mistakes and all of that stuff. So we really appreciate Tony. Just a little bit of example. I know today's not about marketing, but Tony came on and literally increased our lead flow by 50% with just being 90 days of just being here. So it's amazing at what you can do when somebody else is just a professional of their craft and you bring them in. And, it goes back to, you don't have to be a professional at everything. You just got to know where you want to go and get the people along the right ride with you. So Welcome aboard, brother.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So we're going to kind of go over, Tony is the customer in this example. Tony doesn't know me. And we went through my mindset's right as a salesperson. We went through the road to the sale. I've already done all the steps to get us down to this point. Now, in this example, and if you know anything about the FC sales system, we always sell with options. So you can go onto the FC sales system and you can follow along if you're logged in this program. If not, we'll show you how to get signed up so you can understand what we're saying today. But when you go on there, we're going to have, for example, a 20-year roof option, a 30-year roof option, and a 50-year roof option. So, Tony, we have looked here at your roofing system, and like I was saying, explaining up there, that the half the sheeting up there is dry rotted, so we're going to need extra ventilation. So I'm going to suggest an attic fan, a solar attic fan, or we can do extra Cobra Ridge fan over the garage, which wasn't originally there before.
Okay.
So by doing that, it's a little bit more, but at the end, you're going to get a roof that's going to last longer. So that being said, we have a 30-year, 20-year option, a 30-year option, and a 50-year option. Which roofing system did you want to go with today?
Gosh, I'm not sure. I don't think I can afford the expensive option. I'm probably gonna have to go for the low end option. Maybe it still might be out of my price range still.
Okay, I understand. My job is to give you all the information so you can make an educated decision, Tony. If I can ask, you said earlier that you're going to this is your forever home. You and your wife are married now for 3 or so years, and you're planning on being this, you're going to raise your kids and your grandkids in this home, right?
Oh, definitely.
All right. Well, then I would suggest that the cheaper roof is going to be expensive here for you then, because that roof that only costs at the 20-year roofing system at $15,000, you're going to replace 3 to 4 times over versus the 50-year roofing system.
Really?
So that's what I'm saying, when the cheap roof is actually the most expensive one here on the paper. Yeah, the 50-year roofing system is going to be $40,000 versus the $15,000, but it's the last roof you're ever going to have to do. Now, I know you're in shape and you look great, but at your age, 83 years old, you're getting up there in 50 years.
Yeah, you're right.
So that being said, Tony, not like we have to write a check for the whole thing today. Really, it only comes down to going to be $400 a month. If you break down $400 a month and do some rough math, we're really coming out to right around $40 a day. So, Tony, could you afford $40 a day with a roofing system you're never going to have to worry about the rest of your lifetime?
Yeah, when you put it that way, $40 a day, I think I can do that.
That sounds great. So what we have did there with Tony is it really came down to, wow, I really can't afford this, to once you presented the value and the reason. So what I did is I went after logic first, and then I went after the emotion. You got to do this correctly, guys. If you set up with emotion first and pull them in with emotion, and then you try to sell with a logic to the customer, it's all going to be about no feelings at all. It's all going to be about logistical. But what I did for him is got him to see logistically first of how things would be. And then I mentioned the grandkids, and then mentioned the kids and the last roof we ever have to do. So I made sure that he felt heard. That's the most important thing, right?
Definitely.
You felt heard. You felt like I understood you. We could have done this in a little bit different way. I could have said that, Tony, which one of these options work best for you? And then you would have said, I don't know if you can afford it. Well, Tony, all my customers go with the 50-year roofing system. It's really just not about affording it, but this is what we mostly do. And I could have just really started pushing at you rather than taking a seat back and saying, look, I understand. My job is just to give you all the information so you can make an educated decision. I didn't try to jump down your throat right away and just push that on you and say, all my customers do this. This is what you need to do. I'm the professional here at the table, and by all my experiences. So you have some of these pushy salespeople, and I'm exaggerating, but I'm not, because I've seen them. But when somebody feels like they're heard, you're creating that rapport and taking the PPR a little bit further. Now, that was a little bit easier of a close, but Tony, let's just pretend that we got down to that point, and you said the $40 a day was pretty affordable, but you need to run it by your wife.
Yeah. So,
because you're not the only sole decision maker here, because you were married, right? So let's play that back again. And okay, $40 is affordable, but now you need to talk to your wife.
Okay, sure.
So $40 affordable. Would that be affordable for you, Tony, at $40 a day?
I feel like I have to run this by my wife before I make any decisions. I really think I should get her input on this.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. I've been married for 14 years, and I realized on the honeymoon that you need to talk about everything with your wife, and that's going to be very important. I'm the same way. But if you're anything like me and my wife, we like to make decisions together. But the fact that she left you here in charge to get this information, she obviously trusts you, right?
Yeah.
And being that she trusts you, and you probably know her better than anybody else. If she was here, what do you think what she would want to do? Which roofing system do you think would make most sense to her?
I feel like she'd want to feel more safe, and she might actually go with the higher option here.
Okay.
But yes, I still not sure. I feel like I should still get her opinion.
No, 100%. And I'm not saying you shouldn't get her opinion. I'm just curious what roofing system you think she would go with. And earlier, Tony, that you said that you were planning on getting the roof done. You have to get it done by next month because you are going to have some other projects going on, some painting and things like that.
Definitely.
So we have to get the roof done. One thing, especially when it comes to our higher def with their GAF roofing systems, and we go to the Master Elite, and then we go with American Harvest, those are a little bit more back ordered, especially for the color and style that you picked out here.
Mhm.
So that being said, it's pretty important. I know pretty soon, just so I can get you an order to get you before the head of that project, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could give your wife a call?
Yeah, I think so. I can give her a call.
You can't be that easy. Pretend she can't. You can't get a hold of her.
Okay. Well, all right. Let's say. Okay. No, I don't know. I need a. Actually, she's kind of hard to reach right now. She's working, so.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I understand.
Okay.
And I say that jokingly because on occasion you would get customers whip out their phone, but usually they're like, no, she's busy. And like she's in the next room or something.
Yeah, she's working right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, hey, Tony, I completely understand.
Okay.
Not that you have to, but if you had to make a decision right now and you know your wife better than anybody else, and it doesn't really come down to which option here, because you just said that you and your wife are agreeing probably that the 50 years is going to be better for you guys. It really just comes down to the finances. Now, you don't strike me as a guy who doesn't do the research. You seem very detailed just from talking to you and the different business things that you have going on. You seem very nice and very personable, very knowledgeable.
Sure.
So I would be surprised to think that you and your wife didn't talk about research pricing before I got here.
Yeah, you're right. We kind of discussed a little bit, ballpark.
And I know I was your first estimate that's been here, but as far as the research that you've done, as far as the average roofing systems, is this kind of the price that you were thinking the roof was going to cost you?
Kind of, but I was kind of expecting to get some more quotes from other companies. So yeah, that's another big thing as well.
Sure. And actually, I can help you with those recommendations. I know 3 other companies are really reputable that I can leave some names with you, because what happens is there's a lot of roofing companies. There's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of bad ones. And you're going to get prices. I could tell you right now, Tony, I've been doing this for 15 years. And one of the reasons I got into the roofing industry is I'm really, really passionate about what I do. Okay. I've worked for other industries for a while, worked for other roofers. And one thing I never liked is I was always out of control, meaning I couldn't control the outcome. I could tell you all day long how good my product was and how good the company was, but then I handed it over and it never met my expectations or my integrity. So the reason I chose this company to work for is because they met all of my all the dots and the T's crossed and everything for me. They have the same moral beliefs as I do, is treating the customer the way they should be treated and doing more than we get paid for. So by saying that, this is why I joined this company. And when you do work here with UBA Roofing, you're not just getting a roofer, you're getting a reputation. And when a roofing system goes on, you're going to have about 100,000 nails come off that roof. You're going to have shingles coming off that roof. You're going to have people here at your house and people through your lawn. I'm not here just to put a roof on. I'm here to make sure your property is protected during the entire time. One of the jobs that we do here is we actually have a ground person the entire time doing the job as it's going, cleaning up these shingles and nails on the ground, running magnets. Every 2 hours, we're running a magnet. We have somebody on the ground covering bushes as we come around, constantly working and making sure that we're not replacing just your roof, but we're protecting your property, because that's really what you want, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that being said, that's one of the reasons that I chose this company. I researched a lot of different companies. In saying that, you're going to get prices anywhere from $400 to $800 a square foot.
Okay.
So looking at those prices, there's only 2 ways to make something cheaper, Tony. And that is going to be labor and it's going to be product.
Okay.
So in looking at this, I'm not saying that we're going to be the cheapest 50-year roofing system that you can get. But all being done and said, if there's a $2,000 to $3,000 difference on a roof that's going to last a lifetime, if you really look at it this way and take that $3,000 extra, we might be above everybody else, but that gives you peace of mind. For that $3,000, would it be worth it to you to know that if there was an issue, you could call me and that nothing else would be going wrong and that it'd be handled immediately, efficiently, and quickly, and that also everything else would be protected? Would that be worth $3,000 for you?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when you put it that way, it gives me peace of mind knowing I can really trust you guys. I've been burned in the past,
Mhm.
with other companies, and that's just something that, I'm kind of shady about certain roofers. So
And you
definitely,
should be,
yeah,
and you should be. And I'll end with this here, Tony, and then I'll get out of your way because I know you have a lot to do.
yeah.
But when you get your different estimates and you put them together, what's going to be the deciding factor of which company you go with?
Well, definitely speed. I need it done very quickly. As you mentioned, making sure that everything's well kept as far as, nails being on the ground. I don't want my tires to get popped after you guys are done. So definitely cleanliness, speed, and just overall trustworthiness.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you guys are reputable and have a lot of good reviews and things like that.
Absolutely. And it kind of goes back to knowing who you are now that I got to know you. And I'm glad that I did, that you're very detailed. We wouldn't be out here today if you didn't trust our company to be out here in the first place. Is that right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. So if we established that it sounds like we're the right company for you. Hopefully you like me.
Yeah.
I know you like our product as we
Yeah.
talked about that. It really just comes down to the point of making sure you're making the right decision because you've been burned in the past.
Exactly.
This is what I'm doing for you, Tony. You're taking a leap of faith going with our company.
Mhm.
You've done your research. It sounds like we are the right fit for you. You seem very personable. Not all my customers are.
Thank you.
On occasion, when I meet nice people like you, I have what's called a referral list.
Hmm.
If I can use you as a referral and I in the community here and somebody calls and said, hey, I want to know how UBA roofing did for you on your site. If you could be a referral list for me, what I'll do for you, I'll give you the 50-year roofing system for the 30-year price.
Oh shoot! No way! Really?
I'll do that for you.
Just gotta spread the word.
Just spread the word. And if I have a customer in your community that said, hey, before I do anything, I'd like to call somebody you've done work for, I'll mitigate about 4 calls a year. We get quite a few of those, so I'm not going to overload you.
Okay.
I'll do that for you, Tony. That's going to bring it down to right about, we're talking $40 a day. That's going to bring it down to about $30 a day.
Oh.
If that works for you, I'll get the order put in. We'll get this started.
Of course. Thank you, Josh.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
So obviously in that scenario, when you get that deep with a customer, you better know where you are in the deal. It's very important to know where you're at and what customer is sitting in front of you. I know that I can prod and I can pry in that example because of my rapport I have with Tony. And what you didn't get to see is the background, right? But if you went back into last week, let's say you go back 2 weeks ago, mindset's right. I'm into what I'm doing. I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. And I look in that mirror and I'm confident who I see. And I know who I am. I know who I'm not. I know my mistakes, but I have a plan to continue to grow myself. So I feel good about myself, not because I'm perfect, because I know I'm not, but I have a plan to work that direction. That being said, now getting to the customer, and I brought him through the PPR, personable, professional, relatable. Now, with that stage being set, you can do what I just did, and you will close 10 out of 10. We have a saying in our company, 10 out of 10. We want to close 10 out of 10 deals, guys, and it's possible. Our closing ratio here in our companies and different companies that I coach is anywhere from 78%. Here in our company specifically, 83% is about what we're closing. First time closes. That does not count people calling back and saying we're going to go with you. So when you're in front of the customer, they're buying your belief. They're buying your confidence. They're buying your trust. When it came down to Tony wanting to think about it, I didn't say, well, why do you need to think about it and just kind of go right back into rebuttal? I didn't do that. I agreed with him. And that's the key. We always want to agree with the customer. You ever hear the term, the customer is always right? The customer always has to feel like they are right. The customer's not always right. The customer's most always wrong. But we don't want to make the customer feel wrong. We want to make them feel right. So follow me here. In your relationship, guys, with your girlfriend or coworkers or different people you think about, nobody has ever done anything great. Nobody has ever gotten anywhere by disagreeing. Disagreeing means that there's nothing going to happen here. It's like turning two magnets against each other. You're pushing it apart. Even though you're right. Do you want to be right and lose a deal? Or do you want to make them feel right and make some money? and close the deal and take care of your family. Because guys, success is our duty. You want to know why I do what I do every single day? Because it's my duty. It's in my core of my being. It is my duty to be successful, first of all, for my family, for myself, for my friends, and all the people around me, closest to me, my community and my church that need help. So let's don't be selfish. So that's what drives me. So I'm just saying, mindset, that was whatever drives you, that needs to be it, because it's going to come across to the customer right here. And I'm not so much trying to get Tony to do something for me. That's not the way that Tony should feel. Tony should feel I'm trying to do something for him. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to close Tony for him. Does it benefit me? Absolutely. I'm biased here, of course. But I truly believe that if Tony went with a 50-year roofing system, it would treat him and his wife and his future family in the best way possible. And my conviction will come across to Tony. And as we said before in many other podcasts, that if I can bring Tony to the same understanding of where I'm at, whoever's more convinced of their side of the story, if you're on the same level of understanding, will win the argument. So more than anything else, I'm trying to bring a mental state and an agreement, and I have to make sure that you feel right, you feel heard, you feel comfortable, and then I just come in there and I'm able to swing in a little bit of a discount to pull you back in. But one thing I did when I felt I was not really getting anywhere with you because you had to talk to your wife and all this other stuff, I got you even more emotional. I told my story. I told him why I'm doing this, why I chose this company to work for. Many of you own your own businesses, and now you could say, I started my own business because of this. But a lot of you are salespeople, and you don't have your own business, and you're working for somebody else. Let them know that you did your research too, and that's why you're working for this company. Let them know you worked for other companies and you left because it wasn't the right one. Now, this is not a time to bash where you came from and to mention names. Never speak bad about the competition. Did you see how I reflected quickly? I said, there's a lot of good companies. There's also a lot of bad ones. I left it there. I didn't call anybody out. And I didn't go in detail about how everybody else is worse and we're better. Like that salesperson, the 50-year roofing is the best. We're the only master elite contractor that exists, Tony. That being said, if you go with anybody else, like there is some other companies in the area, and let's say I name 1, 2, 3 by name and go in detail how bad they are. This is what my customer is saying about them. Tony, I'm telling you, if you go with this 50-year roofing system, go with us. Again, we're the only ones, and that's a lie. You're never the only one. There's other people with the same quality product, the same quality company, and the same customer service. So if that's the case, what sets you apart as a salesperson? Think about it for a second. What sets you apart in a deal? What's the common denominator of change and of difference of every deal? It's not a company, because there's other companies just as good as you. It's not the product. There's other products just as good as yours and sometimes better. And it's not the price. And you don't always want to be the lower price, but there's other people at your same price point with your same quality and with your same salesmanship and closing abilities. So what makes you different is asking Tony the proper questions and taking the time to get to know Tony, because no human being is all the same. You can break down human behavior in 8 different categories, and you can narrow it down to 4. So once you know personality types, you can pinpoint Tony to a personality type. So I know how to go at him from the beginning. From my experience, from just talking to somebody within 30 seconds, I know what your personality is. I know how to connect with you. I know what questions to ask you. Of course, I get it wrong sometimes, but the majority of times I'm getting that right, and you'll learn that. But it doesn't mean now that I have a perfect beat on Tony. It just means I know your personality type. I'm going to continue to dig and get to know you. And as I do that, Tony's then going to kind of, in card sense, reveal his hand. And once I know what your hand is, it's easier to come through and play your hand against you. And if I can say it that way, or I'd say in a better way, play your hand for you to put you in a best position to win. What we don't want to do here is knowingly be one of the highest prices and know we could do a little better. Nothing wrong with making extra money, but completely taking somebody over. You also, guys, I want to stress this, don't do that either. because now you're going to have a bad taste in that mouth once somebody figures out what you've done. So coming in there, doing everything that we just did, it started to get pretty thick, and I started to get a lot of pushback from Tony. So I started telling my story. And when this starts to happen, when we get a lot of pushback, what I don't want to do is I don't want to apply pressure. Like the other salesperson, we're the only one, we're the best, and all this other stuff. People could smell fake. So what I don't want to do is apply pressure. I want to relieve pressure. And I relieve pressure by making sure that I know that you are understood. Mm-hmm. And if I know that you are understood, it's getting really complicated. But if you understand that, then you're at ease. I'm trying to set the customer at ease. So let's use a little bit of different of an angle and a little bit of different example. We have, if you go into future contributions, and if you're following along with us, there's 14 to 16 different ones that we really talk about. One thing, guys, that we can do is this is called the turnaround close, and it's very effective. Let's say that, Tony, okay, we got to the end and I told you my story and you really like me and I offered you the discount, but go ahead, say, look, Josh, this is the third time you're going to object to me. You're going to get 3 no's. You want to get 3 solid no's before you give up. Push any further than that, you're going to ruin yourself from getting a call back from this customer. But you're going to want to ask for the sale at least 3 times and get clearly told no 3 different times. So make sure it's not a complaint, a true objection, not a complaint. We'll explain that later. But so, Tony, that's why I work for this company. And what I would do for you is I give you the 50-year roofing system at the 30-year price. Would that work for you? And if you guys, by the way, I'm sorry, you can't see my hand. Before I put my hand out when I said that. So always put your hand out, look in the eyes, smile, and just pause and wait.
I don't know. I'm still worried about the risk.
Ouch. Yeah, so I wouldn't say that, obviously, I'm just making a point. But, Tony, I completely understand. Well, here, what I'm going to do for you, Tony, is I'm just going to fill this paperwork out. This is going to go to you so that when we do come here next month to do your roofing system, you'll know what to expect and you have all the information. So I'm going to start filling out all this information for them, just his name. And really, this is just buying me a little bit of time. I'm going to change the subject here. So what I want to do is, as I'm filling this out, get a little bit of silence. What I'm doing right now is I'm relieving pressure by starting to fill out this sheet. After I get his name and his address and the date down, I'm just going to pause. I'm going to say, Tony, I was thinking. Again, we already talked about that you make a perfect referral here. But if I could do one other thing for you, if I could put a yard sign out and take pictures, some before and after pictures of this project, if I could do that for you guys. Now remember, this is about 3 minutes. I changed the subject. We talked about his dog and his pool and some other stuff. And he's not expecting me to come back in and ask for another sale. So this is the 3rd time I'm coming back in. And I'm just going to say, Tony, I'll do this. Please don't tell your neighbors and other people, but this is between me and you. If I could get you the 50-year roofing system for the 20-year price, could I earn your business a day if we could put a yard sign out, put you on a referral list, and take before and after pictures?
50 for the 20 price?
50 for the 20 price.
Wow. I can't say no to that. That's unbelievable. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, you can do that.
All right. Sounds good. So before we go in, we don't always want to give a one-liner price, and we don't just want to give our best prices up front. We always want to be able to give the lower end product or service for the top end pricing. You say, well, that's crazy. That's dumb. That means that your 30-year roofing system is going to be 2 to 3, or 20-year roofing system, $2,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 more than the other competition, comparable to a 50-year roofing system. That'll never work. Well, actually it will. I worked for a construction company on national level, and that was my approach and methodology, and became #1 in the nation in just 6 months. So it absolutely does work. It doesn't work though if you don't believe in it, if you don't have confidence in yourself, to not sell price, but to sell value. So that is how that does come across, and that's how that would work. So I did mention before about the turnaround close. So after the third no, and that did not work out, the turnaround close would come in. I would kind of like stand up, and I'm not going to fully stand up, be out of frame. But if I stood up and I start walking away and say, hey, Tony, it was nice to see you today. Thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to doing business with you whenever you guys are ready. Little small talk. As I'm getting to that door, I'm going to stop and I'm going to turn around. And this is if I didn't already use my third no. This is on I still have one more no to get. And I didn't do the pause on the paper here, but I walked away. What can happen at that time, when you stand up away from the negotiation table, a lot more pressure can be relieved, even more so than just sitting here, because I still have you here. So when you make separation, just separating from the customer can relieve major pressure. Time and separation will bring pressure down. And that's our goal, not to increase, but to decrease. So as I walk away from him to that door and turn around, his state can be completely different now than if he was sitting here beside me. Because now I completely took the pressure off and I flanked him from the side, I guess, if you want to say, and it came back in here, and I'm just going to ask him the same thing, if I could do the 50-year roofing system for the 20-year price. So that's the turnaround close. That is the doorknob close. I'm sorry. That's the doorknob close. The turnaround close, guys, is I started doing this when I was selling roofs years and years ago, and the doorknob close wasn't really being that effective. And I'm sorry, I missed those two up for you. The doorknob closes when you're still there with the customer going to the door, thus the doorknob turning around. The turnaround close is when you walk through that door, you get into your car, and you go down the street just out of sight of the customer, and you sit there for about 5 minutes. While you're sitting there, this is what happens. Obviously, we already talked about the pressure being relieved, but a lot of times a husband and wife are not giving you the true objection. We didn't do our job right to find the true objection. Whatever it was, sometimes it's not you. It's not, most times customers, it's not that they don't trust you. They don't trust their own intuition to make a decision, because they don't trust themselves because they made bad decisions in the past. And they really just need to talk to each other and confide in each other. So if that happens and the husband and wife are still in that house and they're talking about how great Tony was, how great Josh was, how great you are, and all that other stuff, and we really should have just went with him, I know, but some customers just don't want to make a decision on the spot because they feel pressured, and they don't like pressure. Nobody likes pressure. But that 5 minutes sitting on the street, and they talk to, like, we're going to call him. We're going to call him. We're going to give him a call tomorrow after this other estimate. Well, guess what? If that other estimate's me or Tony or somebody else, they ain't calling you back because we're going to close it. So what we want to do is, we don't want to just wait around that corner. We're going to turn back around at 5 minutes. We're going to knock back on the door and say, hey, guys, I'm back. Just like that. And they're going to look at you and say, did you forget something? They're like, indeed, actually, I did forget something. Forgot to tell you something. I was just driving away, and I completely forgot to tell you. And then you can pull in I completely forgot that the discount that we could do for you guys. And I was still thinking about how I could earn your business, because I really want to. And if we could do this for this, and you could do this for us, and I could get you the 50-year for the 30-year roofing system, will that work for you guys? They'll look at each other and be like, we were just talking about when to go with you. Yes. And it works like that. I had probably in the roofing industry, had about a 30% closing ratio with those type of turnaround closes. Typically, they work best if you have a husband and wife, or a spouse, or girlfriend and boyfriend, whatever it is. If there's two people that you know that they didn't want to confide into you but wanted to talk about it, that can really help. Another thing, guys, too, is looking about confiding into the customer, is you could also step away from the customer at some point. Be like, hey, do you guys just need 5 minutes? Here, let me give you 5 minutes, and just step away. You guys need 5 minutes? Sometimes you need to ask, sometimes you need to tell them, hey, look, take 5 minutes and talk about it. They will not be expecting that either. I just did this the other day. I was in a deal. The husband and wife, they had a lot of money. They were very rich. It had nothing to do with the money. It had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do about the product. It had something to do about the husband and wife's disagreement on what they wanted. And I don't have time to go through 50 years of marriage therapy with these old people. You know, there's a lot of things that happen in those marriages and all this different relationships, right? They can be messy. That's not something I'm there to do. I'm not there to sell Oprah, you know? So my job is to, hey, you know what? Just be the good guy and just say, look, I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes. You guys just let me know what you want to do. I'm just gonna step outside for 5 minutes. Let them confide in each other. And a lot of time that other spouse or the other partner will convince the other one while you're not there of why they should go with you, why they want to go with you. The best salesperson is somebody else selling for you. Because how cool is it if I say, oh, I'm so great, look at my all this other stuff, or if Tony said that about me. It's much better when somebody says something good about you to somebody else to try to sell you. That's the most powerful sell. So I know we're going over a little bit. We have barely even touched the examples and the depth of what we go in here in FC. We're going to do a second one on this here next week. We're going to continue to dive into different objections and sales. Next week, guys, bring your friends, bring your colleagues, bring your enemies. I am going to open up the mic and I want to get feedback from you guys. So please write down some objections that you're struggling with right now out in the field. And discounting the deal is not the only way to close one. I'm just giving you guys an example. There's a lot of times we close deals without discounting. I'm just giving you an example of an outline tonight. So go ahead and look at the writing here, the published script right down below. You'll see it right on the side of your screens. The sales program we have on discounted right now for you guys to take advantage of so that you guys can get a jump start in your sales. If you're struggling, if you're doing great, whatever you're doing, we still want to go up. We never want to plateau. This will get you there, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week.